The Bible's history and archaeological support. Several archaeological discoveries have contributed to our understanding of the historical context of events and places mentioned in the Bible, providing evidence that supports the biblical narrative. Here are three notable examples. The Tel Dan Stela, or the House of David inscription. Discovered in 1993 through 1994 during excavations at Tel Dan in northern Israel. The Tel Dan Stela is an inscribed stone erected by an Aramean king in the 9th century BCE. It contains an inscription that references the, quote, House of David, unquote, typically interpreted as a reference to the Davidic dynasty, and another inscription that reads, quote, King of Israel, unquote, likely Jehoram. This inscription is significant because it provides extra biblical evidence for the existence of King David and his dynasty, affirming a historical basis for the biblical accounts of David's reign. The Dead Sea Scrolls is another archaeological discovery that is of vast importance. Discovered between 1947 and 1956 in the Qumran caves near the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a collection of ancient Jewish texts, including biblical manuscripts dating back to the 2nd century BCE to the 1st century CE. These scrolls include fragments of every book of the Hebrew Bible except for the book of Esther, as well as other non-biblical texts. The Dead Sea Scrolls provide scholars with invaluable insights into the textual history of the Hebrew Bible, confirming the accuracy of its transmission over centuries and shedding light on the religious beliefs and practices of ancient Jewish communities. The third item is the Pool of Siloam. In 2004, archaeologists uncovered the remains of the Pool of Siloam during excavations in the city of David, Jerusalem. This ancient ritual bath, or mikveh, mentioned in the New Testament, John 9, 1 through 11, as the site where Jesus healed a blind man, was a significant water source for Jerusalem in antiquity. Its discovery not only confirms the existence of this important site, but also provides archaeological evidence for the accuracy of the gospel account. These discoveries, among others, help corroborate aspects of the biblical narrative and provide historical context for understanding the events and places described in the Bible. While they do not prove the entirety of the biblical text, they do lend support to its historicity and provide valuable insights into the ancient world in which it was written. Among the Dead Sea Scrolls is the 11Q Melchizedek, a text that mentions a heavenly Redeemer figure known as Melchizedek. Scholars have analyzed the text's potential connection to Jesus Christ, exploring the timeline presented in the 11Q Melchizedek in relation to the life of Jesus. Translations and interpretations of the 11Q Melchizedek suggest parallels between the heavenly Redeemer described in the Dead Sea Scroll text and the role of Jesus Christ as a spiritual figure of vast cosmic significance. These archaeological discoveries, along with texts like the 11Q Melchizedek, deepen our understanding of biblical history and its significance, bridging the gap between ancient manuscripts and modern faith. The Pool of Siloam was discovered during archaeological excavations in Jerusalem's city of David. The excavations were conducted by archaeologists led by Dr. Eli Shukran, who was working with the Israeli Antiquities Authority. The discovery in 2004 showed the significance of the Pool of Siloam lies in its confirmation of an authentic archaeological site mentioned in the New Testament. Accordingly, in the Gospel of John 9, verses 1 through 11, Jesus performed a miracle at the Pool of Siloam, healing a man who had been blind from birth by instructing him to wash in its waters. The discovery of the actual site provides archaeological evidence supporting the historical accuracy of the biblical account. Additionally, the Pool of Siloam served as an important water source for ancient Jerusalem, further highlighting its significance in understanding the city's infrastructure and daily life during Bible times. Well, what might a skeptic, an unbeliever of the Bible, say about the significance of the Pool of Siloam? They might say and approach the Bible and the significance of the Pool of Siloam from a more secular or critical perspective. Some potential viewpoints could be the historical context. They might acknowledge the archaeological significance of the Pool of Siloam as an ancient water source in Jerusalem. However, they could argue that its existence and importance are not necessarily evidence of the supernatural or confirmation of biblical miracles. Instead, they might emphasize the practicality of the pool's role in providing water for daily life in the ancient city. Natural explanations. A skeptic might suggest alternative explanations for the healing miracle described in the New Testament. They could propose that the blind man's healing might have been psychosomatic, misattributed, or embellished over time through storytelling and religious interpretation. They might argue that similar healing practices or beliefs were common in various ancient cultures around them, and the story in the Bible is not unique or conclusive evidence of divine intervention. Another approach could be a literary and symbolic interpretation. Some skeptics might view the story of Jesus healing the blind man at the Pool of Siloam as a literary device or symbolic narrative rather than a literal historical event. They might interpret it as a metaphorical illustration of spiritual enlightenment or moral transformation rather than a miraculous physical healing. From this perspective, the significance of the Pool of Siloam lies more in its symbolic value within religious texts than in its literal historical impact. Overall, skeptics and unbelievers may acknowledge the archaeological significance of the Pool of Siloam while questioning its supernatural or religious implications as described in the Bible. They may prefer to explore secular, naturalistic, or alternative interpretations of its historical and cultural significance. What have skeptics said about the Tel Dan Stela, and who are they? Archaeologists? Historians? Well, the skeptics of the Tel Dan Stela typically come from various academic backgrounds, including archaeologists, historians, biblical scholars, and other researchers. Their skepticism may stem from different perspectives and methodologies, but they generally approach the inscription with caution and critical analysis. Here are some common points of skepticism regarding the Tel Dan Stela. Number 1, its dating and interpretation. Some skeptics may question the precise dating of the Tel Dan Stela and the interpretation of its inscription. While the general consensus among scholars is that the inscription contains a reference to the, quote, House of David, unquote, some skeptics may argue for alternative translations or interpretations of the text. They may suggest that the term, quote, House of David, could refer to a different entity or dynasty unrelated to the biblical King David. A second item is concerning authenticity and attribution. Skeptics may also raise questions about the authenticity of the Tel Dan Stela or the accuracy of its attribution to the biblical narrative. They may point to the possibility of forgery, tampering, or misinterpretation of the archaeological evidence. While the majority of scholars accept the authenticity of the inscription, skeptics may advocate for further scrutiny and analysis to validate its historical significance. Some skeptics may emphasize the need to consider the broader historical context of the Tel Dan Stela and its inscriptions within the geopolitical landscape of the ancient Near East. Overall, skepticism regarding the Tel Dan Stela reflects the diversity of perspectives, the approaches within academic scholarship. While the inscription is widely regarded as a valuable archaeological discovery, and this does provide evidence for the existence of the biblical King David and his dynasty, scholars continue to engage in critical dialogue and debate to refine our understanding of the historical significance of this truly serendipitous find. Scholars, historians, linguists, and skeptics alike should exercise caution about overstating archaeological so-called proofs for the Bible, and take note of William Dever's approach to it as well, as he mentions in his terrific full-on archaeological text of ancient Israel. In David's favor, it should be observed that a number of aspects of his career, as outlined in the Hebrew Bible, they do fit the known archaeological situation in the mid-10th century. None of these supposed activities can be proven, of course, certainly not on the basis of direct archaeological evidence, but they are plausible, and they suggest that the later biblical writers and final redactors had oral and perhaps even written sources that may go back as far as the early Iron II period. Page 349.